My name is Billy Davis, and I have a fighter's heart. I think having a fighter's heart means that you are a person who has failed, sometimes in dramatic fashion, and still found a way to get back up and keep moving. I think it's, kind of not to sound cliche or too much like a Rocky movie, but it's about being able to get down, get knocked down, and then stand back up. My name is Billy Davis. I am a 49-year-old real estate agent in New York City. I was born and raised in Kansas, where I was raised by two visually impaired parents. Both my parents were legally blind, and they met in college at a school for the blind. This is, in addition to just being kind of generally cool and interesting, it also plays in later. I grew up pretty normal childhood, middle class, lower middle class. We didn't have any money, but we were happy. Didn't have a car, which was kind of annoying, but it also got me riding skateboards and BMX bikes because I needed a way to get around, which later paid dividends when I kind of got into weightlifting. And at about 14 in high school, I showed up at a new high school, and the coaches saw me and were like, "Who is this kid?" I was, almost 6'1", about 170 pounds of just kind of solid muscle and pretty bottom heavy from all the BMX cycling I'd done because we didn't have a car. So they asked me if I could play football. I told them I didn't know anything about the sport. But when they told my mom the average GPA of the team, and they told me I could lift weights to get on the team, I was like, sure. So I signed up for a 0-hour weight class and a 2nd-hour weight class. And then I lifted weights 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 9 months a year from the ages of 14 to 18. So every semester for my entire high school career, I had 2 hours of weightlifting, which put a lot of weight, a lot of muscle on me. In high school, as a freshman, I boasted a 515-pound deadlift, a 585 parallel squat. And when I graduated, I had a 30-inch vertical and a 48-second quarter. I was a state quarter mile champion and a track star. Played football, but oddly enough, I was okay because I couldn't catch a football to save my life. Reason being, when you have blind parents, you don't throw things. So I didn't realize that till later, that you don't throw things to blind parents. So I never learned how to catch a football properly while I was running, which is fine. If they gave me the football, I could run over everybody. But track and field and wrestling became really my thing, considering those were close quarters and non-ball producing things I could do. But yeah, basketball, football, basketball, baseball, anything with a ball in it, I stink because dad never threw a football or basketball or baseball at me. So fine. So I did that. I was pretty good at it. Went to the University of Kansas on a track scholarship in the early 90s, was a decent track athlete, had a really good representation there. Eventually I moved to New York City with a group of guys. I was in a boy band that had a couple of record contracts. That's a whole nother episode of another fighter's heart. But I was in a boy band for a while, a very popular boy band. Moved to New York, didn't get the deals, stayed in New York because I loved it so much. And in 2012, my life changed when I was in a really bad motorcycle accident. So that's really when our story begins. It was May 19th, which is in about a month. A buddy of mine was having a bachelor party upstate in the Catskills, and he invited me to come. And the motorcycle club that I used to run with, the Extreme Riders, they were hosting a motorcycle event at Orange County Choppers, which was not too far away from where the campsite was supposed to be. So I thought, hey, kill two birds with one stone. I'll take the motorcycle to the camping thing, spend the night, and then come back, meet up with my guys at the motorcycle rally, and then ride home with my boys, my brothers. The mistake, I made two of them that weekend. The first one was I took a street bike off-road. I thought we were going to a state-sanctioned campsite when what we were going to was someone's private property. So there was no road. It was just, when you get to this gate, it'll be open, and then ride into a meadow and follow the dirt path up, 3 miles. And when you get into the woods, you'll notice a clearing and we'll be there. And so I followed somebody into the mountains with a street bike, basically on a dirt path, if that, and hung out for a night, grilled some meat, played horseshoes, camped out. And then the next morning I brushed my teeth, got some powdered eggs, told everybody I'll see you, and headed back down the mountain to meet up at Orange County Choppers with my boys. And on my way down the mountain, I didn't realize it, but I punctured my front tire and it started leaking. That's when I made the second mistake that I did that weekend, which was getting on a highway I didn't know by myself. Other disadvantage of being raised by visually impaired parents, or mine anyways, is we didn't have a car, so I never learned how to work on engines. So I wasn't used to that's why I joined a bike club, so I could be around guys that knew engines. Well, I didn't have anybody with me, so when the bike started acting funky, I didn't know what to do except let's get to where we're going. So I rode basically an hour and a half on this motorcycle, 90 miles an hour, however fast I was going. I don't know if you could put that on tape. I was doing 90 miles an hour or whatever. Get to the exit, and the exit said 45 miles an hour. Now I figured I'm about to spend 6 hours standing around in the heat, surrounded by motorcycles and metal on asphalt with no shade anywhere. I decided to have a little fun and admittedly took my turn a little bit more aggressive than I probably should have. And when I took the lean I was going to drag my pegs a little bit, just a strong power turn. And when I tried to do that, the motorcycle didn't respond. Didn't respond because motorcycle tires stay inflated through centrifugal force when they're punctured. So as long as you're going forward, they're good. When you slow down, they decompress. And that's what happened. As the exit turned to the right, my bike kept going straight because as I was trying to slow down, I was losing tire pressure. Eventually, the rim hit the gravel on the exit. The bike low-sided and slid out from underneath me and threw me off the exit. As it turned, I slid into a guardrail post doing 50 miles an hour, sliding feet first on my stomach. My left leg hit the guardrail post and pretty much, I say exploded, but it folded like an accordion and then threw me back out onto the exit. So I remember sliding. I remember grabbing my helmet, tucking my elbows. I remember trying to bring my knees to my chest, but I couldn't do it. I didn't quite get that. And then there was a lot of pain. There was an explosion of pain almost. And then I just stopped moving. And I remember looking up, knowing that something was broken and I couldn't get up. I was pain doesn't even do justice to the sensation. I just knew I couldn't get up. And I knew I was in the middle of a highway and I knew the traffic was coming to the left. So my thought was look to the right so you don't see a truck tire. I just didn't want to see a tire before I died. So I looked to the right and waited for the crunch. And that's when I heard a voice say, "Dude, you've been in an accident, you broke your ankle, but you're going to be okay." And I look up and there's this white guy standing over me. Now, rewind a couple of minutes. Right before I got off of the exit, I passed a Ford F-250. Ford F-250 was dragging a Winnebago. That Ford F-250 was being driven by an Army medic named Matt Pinkston, Sergeant Matt Pinkston, who was about to retire. Sergeant Matt Pinkston had spent 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq, where his job was bag tag and disposal of body parts. Sergeant Matt Pinkston had lost his arm 20 years ago and had it reattached. Sergeant Matt Pinkston had received 2 accommodations for being the first responder at accidents in Germany, one of which involved him saving a baby. So Sergeant Matt Pinkston got used to carrying tourniquets in his truck. So when he saw me ride right by him on the highway exit, he saw my bike, which was blinged out, paint, chrome, NOS kit, everything. He looked at his wife and was like, "Wow, it's a nice bike." And she said, "What bike?" And he said, "Never mind, which exit are we getting off of?" Because they were trying to sell the Winnebago. They were headed home to West Point, which is on the other side of Orange County Choppers. He comes off the exit, and as he's following me off the exit, he slows down because he's got the Winnebago. I sped up or didn't slow down. He lost me. And in that split second, he said he saw a puff of dust. And as he came around the corner, my bike was sliding across the exit and I was laid out in the middle of the highway with my left foot under my shoulder next to my helmet, broken in a bunch of pieces. I had endured a compound fracture, my tibia, dislocated my knee. I broke my femur in 2 places, snapped my femoral artery, and was bleeding out. Matt pulls the truck over to block traffic, screams out, "Holy shit, there's the bike." Pulls the truck over, hops out, runs over to me. I'm bleeding like a stuck pig. And he tries to administer first aid. Now, Matt's only 160 pounds, 170 pounds soaking wet. I'm 220, 225, maybe 230, I don't know. fully clothed in all my gear, pumping with adrenaline. I grab his arms. I'm like, because I don't know what to do. And he's like, dude, you gotta let me go so I can help. He eventually let me go, gave me a tourniquet. I remember reaching up to his chest and grabbing a fistful of chest hair, trying to rip that off of him, because I figured if I can get him to yell at me, at least I won't go to sleep. And I remember thinking to myself, don't go to sleep. Like, don't pass out. Don't freak out. Don't go to sleep. Don't freak out. Don't go to sleep, which is why I grabbed him. I think I did eventually pass out. And Matt was able to put a tourniquet on me, which saved my life. The paramedics arrived, took me to Westchester Medical. When I got to the hospital, by the time I got to the hospital, I'd lost 85% of my body's blood volume. So I had 15% of my body's blood left. You lose 5% in major surgery. And if you get below 10%, you typically don't come back. And if you do, you come back impaired. Just your body needs so much blood to work everything. And mine wasn't doing it. So they were able to put me in surgery, 11 hours worth of surgery, 4 blood transfusions, I flatlined twice, and I slipped into a light coma. I say light because every now and then I would wake up. Where are my boots? And somebody would say, well, we took your boots. Was I in a motorcycle accident? Yes, you did. We had to take your leg. Shit. I'd go back to sleep. And then I'd wake up again a few hours later, and they'd be like, well, Mr. Davis, do you know where you are? I'm in Orange County Choppers. You're at Westchester Medical. Did I lose my leg in a motorcycle accident? Yes, you did. Damn it. I'd go back to sleep. And then I would dream about like running with one leg or swimming with one leg or cycling with one leg. I did have one dream where I was watching myself ride a motorcycle from a drone position, but this is 2012 and nobody had drones. So I remember riding the bike, and then I remember watching myself ride the bike and thinking, I'm not supposed to be able to do that. That can't be right. And then I woke up, and then they said something and they put me back to sleep. So long story longer, I had this one dream in Manhattan. I don't know if you know Manhattan, but I'm in Manhattan. I'm on 6th Street, which runs north and south through the city of New York, and it goes right into Central Park. And I used to work at a gym off of 18th and 6th. And I remember riding up 6th Street, and as I'm riding up, it's a beautiful day, light breeze, not a cloud in the sky. And it's weird because in the dream, there were no cars on the street, there were no people on the sidewalks, there's no trash. And every time I hit a light, it turns green. And the only thing I can hear is the light hum of bicycle tires on asphalt, because I was on a road bike. Now, it's important to note that at the time, I used to ride a road bike from appointment to appointment because I was a personal trainer at the time. And I would just ride my bike from gym to gym. So I'm on my bike riding through the city, and it's beautiful, and there's nobody here. And I'm thinking to myself, this is awesome. I could stay here forever. And then I had this feeling I felt something say, if you say yes, you can't say no. And I remember I looked around because it was an odd thing to hear, but I didn't hear it, I felt it. And as I'm riding, I'm looking around, I don't see anybody. So I get a little bit further uptown, closer to 42nd Street, which in Manhattan's Bryant Park. I felt it again. If you say yes, you can't say no. And I remember thinking, what the hell does that mean? And where is everybody? And why isn't there anybody here? And I literally thought to myself, I talk too much to be here alone. I don't want to be here that long. What if I'm here forever and I can't find my way out of this maze? Because it just landed it was like being in an open game, but there's nobody interacting with you in the game. And I was like, there's got to be a way out of here or other people, and I don't know where they are. It was really like some I Am Legend shit. So as I'm getting close to Central Park, I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. What if I'm here for like 70 years? I don't want this shit. No. And I just yelled out, no, I don't want to be here. And immediately I had the sensation of hunger. And I thought, I want a cheeseburger and a Coke. Where can I get a cheeseburger and a Coke? And I immediately remembered that there's a deli on 57th and 2nd. Now, I'm at my office now, which is on 53rd and Madison, which is not far from there. And I remember thinking, oh, Hamilton's Deli on 57th and 2nd. I've never had a cheeseburger. I'm going to go there and order a cheeseburger. So I go up 6th Avenue, which is a one-way street, get to 56th Street, which is also a one-way street, hard right over to Hamilton's, and I walk in with my bicycle in one hand, my helmet in the other, because I'm a safe rider. And I walk in, and the guy's behind the counter. He's got his short black hair. I remember like it happened this morning. And he's working. And I walk in, I say, excuse me, sir, can I get a cheeseburger and a Coke? And the guy turns around, and he has no face. Like everything is gone. No eyes, nose, mouth, nothing, just blank. And all I hear is, wah, 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 and he goes back to work. I was like, well, that's weird. Oh, well, he didn't see me. I'll wait. So I sit there like a polite person, and I hear a bell ring, and it's a doorbell, like in a bodega or something. I look to the right, and this woman walks in, dressed all in black. And I immediately think, man, it's really warm for a burqa. That's interesting. And she has no face. And she walks right over to the counter, and the guy turns around, and she says, wah, wah. And the guy goes, wah, 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 wah. And I look at her, and I say, excuse me, miss, I'm sorry, I was here first. Can I get a cheeseburger and a Coke? And the guy ignores me a second time. Now I'm getting pissed because this is turning into a customer service issue. And in my head, it's because I'm black. So I start writing this email in my head that I'm going to send to the manager so I can get a free sandwich. And I'm like, dude, you wait till Rick finds out on Tuesday. I'm going to get me a sandwich. This is going to be great. I'm a regular. You don't know who I am. You know, I'm getting all in my feelings. So they're going back and forth, ignoring me like I'm not there because I'm not. And eventually I get really angry. I slam my fist down on the counter and I yell out, damn it, can a brother get a cheeseburger and a Coke? And immediately I'm in a different room. Only now it's dark. I see lights flashing over here. I see these two white things flying at me, and I'm pretty sure I'm being attacked by aliens. So I get up to defend myself, and as I go to throw a punch, my arm stops, and I realize I'm in a restraint. And both my arms are in restraints, and there's something in my mouth. And that's, as I'm screaming, I realize the room kind of comes into focus. I realize it turns out it was 5 o'clock in the morning. The flashing lights were medical equipment, and the white things were nurses. And so this nurse runs up to me. She's like, oh my God, Mr. Davis, thank God you're awake. You've been in a horrible motorcycle accident, and we had to take your leg. We apologize about the restraints, but the other day you tried to walk out of here. And I stopped, and as I'm thinking about it, I remembered it. I remembered looking at her and going, F you, I'm out of here. And I remembered spinning to the left and trying to get out of the bed. And what stopped me from putting my feet on the floor is I saw my left leg, and my foot was gone. There was just a bandage with blood soaking through it. And I remember thinking, no, I can't put your foot down. What happened to my foot? What the hell's my foot? What's going on? Why am I here? What's wrong with my foot? And somebody came over and they poked me with something, and I relaxed. And all of a sudden I hear this snap, and I come back and she's like, do you understand? I was like, she goes, you have an intubation tube in. You've been in a motorcycle accident. We'll take the restraints off, but you have to promise not to try to leave. Nod if you understand me. Now, 30 seconds earlier, I'm trying to order a cheeseburger on 2nd Avenue. Now I'm in a hospital with restraints on my wrist and a tube in my throat, and some nurse is telling me I just lost my leg in a motorcycle accident. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm high on Dilaudid and morphine, and I'm just very confused. So I just look at her, I was like, so they take the restraints off, and I'm kind of looking around because I don't know what's going on. She says, okay, we're gonna take the tube out of your mouth. You okay? I'm like, so they take the tube out and I can feel it coming up. It's a terrible feeling. It's like coming from your gut. You can just feel it like working up your throat. And she takes the thing out, and I just sit there. And then I look at the nurse and I say, can a brother get a cheeseburger and a Coke? I'm very hungry. At which point she kind of, let's see what we can do. It took me 4 days to get my cheeseburger. That's when everybody came in and we kind of went over what happened. And that was May 24th, 2012. So while I was in the ICU, I remember thinking I need to find something more physically demanding than being an amputee. I've been an athlete most of my life, personal trainer, Division I athlete, high school, whatever. And I remember thinking, I got to find something tougher than this. This can't be the hardest thing I do every day. So what's the scariest thing I can think of? And I immediately saw the word Ironman. And as a personal trainer and a wannabe athlete, I'd always kind of joked, I could do an Ironman if I wanted to. Never really planned on doing an Ironman. Didn't know how to swim. Hated running endurance, but I like bicycles. So I was like, I'll do an Ironman. All of a sudden now I see it and I'm like, shit, I got to do an Ironman. I don't know how to swim. That's okay, we'll figure it out. A few years later, or fast forward 1 year, coming up on the 19th and I want to celebrate, but I don't want to celebrate the crash. So I decided I'll celebrate the day I woke up. And on May 24th, I rode my bike, I went to a park, I rode my bicycle because I was riding my bike by then. I went to a park, I got a cheeseburger, took a picture and threw it up on Facebook. Hey everybody, remember that day I didn't die? Got my cheeseburger. And the coolest thing happened. All of my friends replied with pictures of cheeseburgers. Hey, Billy, thanks for not dying. We love you. And it became kind of a running joke with my friends. And they just called it Cheeseburger Day, the day Billy didn't die. So fast forward a couple more years, I'm finally starting to work towards getting, like, I got the equipment, I need a leg, and I want to do this triathlon, and the world's aligned. And I was able to do my first triathlon. I needed money for a prosthetic, actually. So I did this fundraiser, and someone told me, they're like, hey, if you connect with this particular organization and you raise a little bit of money, they'll give you the money for a prosthetic. You just have to do a triathlon. And the triathlon's in June. I was like, I got an idea. I'll ask everybody to donate the cost of a cheeseburger to an organization. And that's what I did. I told everybody, hey, everybody, donate the cost of a cheeseburger to this organization. And they did it. We raised a bunch of money. I got my leg, organization got their money. And that's how Cheeseburger Day was born. So every year on May 24th, I do a big fundraiser. I ask people to donate the cost of a cheeseburger, and they raise money. And we've given tens of thousands of dollars to organizations like Aspire, Wiggle Your Toes, a Disability Empowerment Legion of Sierra Leone, Achilles, and things like that. Most recently, last year, I donated a lot of money to LimbKind, which goes to other countries and spends a week there making prosthetics for kids. I've since been on 2 trips with LimbKind, went to Ethiopia in November and Kenya in March. In Ethiopia, we made 40 prosthetics. In Kenya, we made 50 for about 40, 50 kids. I'm going to Sri Lanka in July to do it again for about 30 kids. And that'll be the fundraiser for this year. I have done 6 New York City triathlons, which are Olympic distance, 3 New York City marathons, 2 half marathons, and a handful of just regular triathlons. And it's kind of turned into my passion sport. You know, pre-accident, I was a, classic Midwestern meathead, squats back, legs, chest, 6 days a week, all day, every day, say it with your chest, lift hard, lift heavy. And, my shoulders were starting to feel it. My back would go out every now and then, but, lift hard, lift heavy. And now it's, let me see if I can swim 3 miles. Let me see if I can bike 50. Let me see if I can, I started running on the prosthetic. So running on a blade is crazy, but I do that all the time. And I love the triathlon sport. And more than that, I love the community because I don't do it by myself. I've connected with Achilles, which does team sports. I've connected with Paralympians that swim. I've connected with all these other athletes that are also Challenged Athletes Foundation, CAF. I've worked with them. And I connect with all these other amputees, blind athletes, visually impaired athletes, athletes with traumatic brain disorders, autism, CP, and I run and I do the events with them. And it's this amazing community that uplifts one another. So when I run into someone who's recently suffered from limb loss or limb difference, limb difference, first thing I say is, hey man, when are we getting into the water? Do you run? Do you swim? Before I could do a full marathon on my leg, I started doing hand cycling. And hand cycling got me into doing marathons. I didn't even know that existed before I lost my leg. So now I'm like doing hand cycles. I mean, to me, being active is one, it's therapeutic. And I do believe that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if you can get used to small wins, you can succeed in other things. I knew going into triathlons, I did not know how to swim. I grew up in Kansas, black kid stereotype, call it whatever you want, never got into water. No open water. There's no natural bodies of water anywhere in Kansas. So all we had are swimming pools and I couldn't afford them, so I didn't go. So to be a 38-year-old who had to learn to swim, I still have panic attacks in the water regularly, but I am very confident that there is no way I am going to live through the accident that I did and then drown trying to train for a triathlon. And I also knew, to your point, I knew that if I kept getting in the water, eventually I would figure it out. And I did. And that little thing has caused confidence in so many other areas of my, now disabled, challenged life. And it's been the best thing. So as much as it's about triathlons, it's also about creating a system where you can have wins that you can then take on to other places. I think that I am uniquely qualified for this type of obstacle. One, my parents were disabled. They were visually impaired. So I watched my parents navigate life in a world that did not acquiesce to them. Both of them met in college and got their master's degrees. So I don't come from a line of sit on your hands, do nothing type people. We figured out how to make things happen with no car, public transportation. So I knew there were resources out there. You just had to find them. My parents are I come from a family of people that just, they stand up and they get shit done. I'm also super competitive. It doesn't hurt, to be honest. I'm allergic to alcohol, and a few of the things that most amputees or people that go through what I've gone through, they fall subject to obesity, opioid abuse, and alcoholism. I've never, fortunately, been terribly out of shape. I mean, I've been out of shape, but I've never been obese by any matrix or anything like that. So, and I know from having a fitness background, because I was a personal trainer and fitness person, like a good personal trainer for the better part of 17 years. So I know that it's easier to keep up than to catch up. So don't let yourself get out of shape or too far out of shape. I'm allergic to alcohol, so I never drank. I just don't drink. I'm not a pill guy, so I never fell into the opioid thing. And then I knew from watching my parents when I was younger, and just from what I could learn about fitness and people with disabilities, that if you can get a person with a disability in a sport or in some sort of athletic endeavor, it's a sweat equity thing. It'll work out. I also know from my research that, I worked with people with disabilities as a trainer. Before I started doing triathlons, I went back to training 6 months later after the accident. Went right back to the gym and started training people on one leg. And it wasn't long before I was working with people with disabilities, because people would say, well, we have a blind client and we don't know what to do with them. We hear your parents are blind and you got one leg, so you should train them. Okay, great. And then I go to my prosthetist, and my prosthetist says, hey, we got somebody that's overweight. We think they need a personal trainer. Would you mind if they give you a call? Now I'm working with amputees. So I got to learn really intimately the way people with physical challenges work. And I just always saw it work. I think I'm wired this way. I mean, I love to compete. I love to be active. And I think I'm wired this way. And, it's a blessing and a curse. I threw my back out on a ride this week, and it's killing me to not get out there and run or ride or swim. And I damn near have to tie myself to the couch because I just want to go out and go. So, this is just the way I am. At this point, I'd like to think I'm playing for legacy. There are a lot of things that I will probably never accomplish in my lifetime, given my age. And, let's be honest, you can only jump so far from where you are or where you start. And that's not to say I can't be successful and have financial freedom and those type of things. But at the end of the day, if those things are not important, which we all agree that, they're only so important, the next thing is, what kind of a legacy do you leave? And I believe that one day when I'm no longer here, I want people to say nice things about me. I want people to, I want people to feel like I left the world better than I found it. I want my kids and my friends' kids to remember me as not, oh yeah, you remember Uncle Billy or Dad, after he lost his leg, he slipped into a depression and he started drinking and he gained a bunch of weight, and he died in a basement somewhere or in a trailer. I want him to think, oh no, my Uncle Billy, my dad, yeah, he's got one leg. He does Ironmans. He does triathlons. He does marathons. That guy can get it. And that's the legacy I want to leave behind. I want other people with disabilities to see what I'm doing and go, well, if that old guy can do it, I'm 30 years younger than him. I should be able to do it. And I think that's important. I will do that half Ironman. I will also do a full Ironman next year. That's the plan. I'm looking at Arizona. I would love to get out to Arizona and do that one. It's going to be a longer, harder, grittier race than I've ever done before, but I'm up for it. I'll do the New York City Marathon again. I'm doing the 5-borough bike tour in 2 weeks. I mean, I'd like to settle into being able to eventually doing triathlons all over the world, just because it's so much fun. And continue to be a resource for other people with challenges and disabilities. I would love to, as a real estate agent, there aren't a whole lot of amputee real estate agents out there that I've met. To my knowledge, I'm the only one. I'm sure there's another one out there somewhere. But I love being a resource for people who need that service, because, some of my clients as of late have been disabled or challenged in one way or another. And it's refreshing to know that if a person needs something, they can call me and say, hey, Billy, I need something that's ADA compliant. Can you help? And I know how that works. So yeah, I want to keep being active, and triathlons is something I can do later into life and have fun and stay this super sexy version of myself. And I always tell people, find a community. I mean, you can't do this by yourself. And whether you're in New York City or Salina, Kansas, if you are an amputee or going through something like this, it doesn't even have to be an amputation. If you're going through some recent form of, some kind of challenge, it's easy to think that you are the one and the only. There are days when I go and I'm the only amputee I see that day. So I'll use that as an example. I tell amputees, go out and find a community, go out and find a support group, go out and find a team, Google amputee sports in your area, find an Achilles, find an Aspire, find challenged athletes, whatever group, Catapult is in Texas. Like, go find an organization like that, link up with them, go to support groups, talk to other people that are going through the same thing you are, because you are not the first, you will not be the last. And it's every bit as important for people to support you as it is for you to learn how to support other people. It's all about paying it forward. I'm a big believer in, I do this for other people because somebody did it for me. A couple days ago, I sat on a Zoom call with a person who's a recent amputee and 5 other people who are all amputees that have gone through the same thing. A couple of them I've mentioned on this call. And we just sat and told our stories to this guy that was new and gave him a little bit of hope and a little bit of relief. And, the hope is that at some point in the future, he can do the same thing for somebody else. I think that it's awesome that people find inspiration in my story. And if you do, take it, because the toll has been paid. My request is that you pay it forward and do it for somebody else. And again, on May 24th, if you hear this message on May 24th, have a cheeseburger, take a picture, put it online, tag me, Real Estate Triathlete, tell me you had a cheeseburger, donate, the Billy Davis Foundation, Limb Kind. I mean, it's all about just being positive and helping people out. It's so easy to think you're a one and only in this world, and you're just not. The universe leaves clues. And one of those clues is the collective is stronger than the individual. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I'm all about going far. And to go far, go together.